Hey heroes, Cole's here. Today I'm going through all of the forges for the 11 base weapons in Heroes vs. Hordes. I'm going to go through my choices in deciding which left or right side to go to based on the game mode and based on the weapon. So the key in the forge is to understand which game mode you're playing, and so you're going to make slightly different choices for each weapon based on that. I'm going to try and give you a mental model to think through how to make your own decisions for any particular weapon. And so you can use these as you go through the game and can think about them yourself. Because part of the fun of HvH is not me telling you exactly what to do, but thinking through and how to do it yourself. I'm going to have each one of these broken up into chapters. So if you don't want to go through all of them, you just need to get to a specific weapon, check out the chapters in the video and you can just skip ahead to that one. Real quick, I'm Coles. I'm a high-level HvH player. Please subscribe to the channel if you find the content helpful. I also have a Patreon where you can join to be entered in a monthly HvH giveaway. Alright, so first off is Crossbow. At level 1, there's fast shots for projectile speed, or long shots for effect duration. Both of these are about the same in my book. Projectile speed makes the crossbow go faster, and effect duration leaves it on the battlefield longer. I think this is either one, choose whichever one you want. At level 2 in the forge, you have fire arrows or frost arrows. Fire arrows apply a burn, frost arrows apply a freeze, which makes sense because they're frost. I use frost arrows for game modes where I need to freeze horde. Go figure. So something like nightmare mode that's really strong, or hard mode arena, or anything where you need to keep them away from you for an extended period of time, and you kind of just want to throw it into your build as like a one-point wonder. So you use fire arrows for the burn application, and you use frost arrows whenever you need to freeze horde. So think of those kinds of game mode. Fire arrows will be more damage, frost arrows is more survivability. At the 5th level forge, projectile speed or straight damage. Projectile speed is better for modes where you need to hit a lot of horde more often, and sharp wing would be better for when you're trying to hit fewer horde more often. So most of the time you're going sleek wing, and this is what I have as my default. Fire orbs, this is a big one. Fire orbs is core to most early game builds. I still use it late in the game because I haven't gotten many special weapons. It's one of my biggest damage dealing weapons in the game. Level 1, I go area of effect. My focus here is on the evolution. Flame Wheel only benefits from area of effect. It's like a kind of a simple rule of thumb here. So we're always looking for more area of effect for Flame Wheel. At level 2, you have chance of burn or more area of effect. I'm going to get burn elsewhere in my build, and so I'm just looking for the most damage I can from Fire Orbs and from Flame Wheel. So more area of effect is the way I go here. Pyro Spile creates an inner ring, doing 100% more damage. Really got high kind of damage over replacement is a term I've created in the past, where if it's doing damage, it means the horde got close to you, which means it's really valuable damage. So keep that in mind. Like, this is a really, really big upgrade for Flame Wheel, because any damage that it's doing is going to be massively important. It means the horde almost got to you, and this stopped them from getting to you. And then at the 5th level, I go for Blaze in every situation. There's not a situation where I would take the status effect duration. Always right. Bomb. Bomb is another one I've been using since the beginning. A lot of people will eventually replace this with something like Cow Whistle or some of the better special items, but I haven't. So let's see what we got here. Projectiles is not bad here. Projectiles for bomb will increase the damage and the evolution, which is like X42 rocket. So projectiles are totally fine. Area of effect, I think, hits more horde more often. This one I'm actually not sure. I think you could go either way. Stun Bomb gives you a chance for stun, and Mega Burst is more area of effect. Stun Bomb is great in modes where you need to stun horde. So Nightmare mode, hard mode arena, that kind of stuff. Super helpful. Whereas Mega Burst is better for hard mode, normal mode, and any mode where you have to clear out a whole bunch of horde at once. And honestly, you could think about running stun even in every mode. There's not a bad choice here. This is where I get most of my burning, is from level 4 bombs. This adds burning to the rockets, and it makes essentially the whole battlefield start burning, and applying burning to every horde, giving you a big damage amp. So evolving bomb is huge in most builds for the burning once you have 4-star forge. And you get amped to burning damage from your talents. Quick reload, that gives you 5% cooldown, helpful early in the game before you hit the 60% cap in the detail screen. Useless later in the game from as I understand it. Some weapons, these 5% additional cooldowns make a difference. Don't believe it helps for bomb. So mass destruction is more area of effect, and that's where I'm going here. Divine Aura. Divine Aura is a fun one because you can't evolve this in most of the later end game modes, but it's super helpful early in the game for the healing, particularly in a flag build for the knight. At the 1st level, You can go for pushback or for area of effect. I think this is a little bit of a wash. I use the pushback for nightmare mode and for other modes where I just need 1 point in it and forget about it. If you're actually trying to get more healing and a little bit more damage, then you go for Heavenly Horizon and more area of effect. At level 2, you can either go for stun or for a chance to burn. Again, we're seeing a lot of chances to burn in base weapon level forges. I personally go stun radiance and things like nightmare mode again and hard mode arena because you need the stuns there. And I keep saying that over and over again, so hopefully you get the idea of when you pick a stun and when you don't. It does add a slow at the 4-star, and I don't have 5-star yet. Plus regeneration is cool, and -5 cooldown. So I would use the 5% cooldown early in the game, and then switch over to Blood Moon and regeneration later in the game. Boomerangs. Boomerangs are great. They're actually one of my favorite weapons for the Hero Wang evolution. I call it Hero Wang when it's Hero Rang. I like Hero Wang better personally. On the Forge side, you have a couple options for damage. You can do +2 projectiles, or you can do +5% critical hit chance. At the first level, I go for plus projectiles. That'll generally be a higher amp to your damage. And then at level 2, you can either go stun, and this has a 20% chance to stun, which is super high. So I usually go that, and again, I'm using this as a 1-point wonder in Nightmare mode and Hard mode Arena all of the time. That stun is super valuable in Nightmare mode. It can like make or break a run for you, I've seen in the past. So getting this to level 2 is actually super helpful for Nightmare mode. I also really like it in Faction Wars, so keep that in mind. 4-star, it adds burning. Again, there's another chance to add burning into the build. And then at 5, you can either get pushback or massive destruction +4 projectiles. That's actually a big damage amp. Each projectile above a cap just adds damage to the existing projectiles. And in this case, I bet you they're kind of towards the cap with +4. And so each one is just going to do a percentage more damage. So this could be something like a 15 to 20% increase to damage for boomerangs. Arcane Staff. Arcane Staff is secretly OP, really in the late game, once you have the 4-star Forge. Before the 4-star Forge, it's kind of ho-hum and building duration tome feels bad. But later in the game, man, I use this thing all the time. And unfortunately, I use it so much, it ends up in all my videos. So all my videos have all these death rays of like purple laser beams coming out of my heroes. And kind of ruins the aesthetic a little bit, but it's super valuable. So I keep on using it. At level 1, you're looking for effect duration or more damage. I go for more damage. Effect duration is better for the unevolved version because it'll stay on the horde longer, and the increase to damage is for death ray because death ray, once it's locked on, doesn't leave, so you don't need effect duration. At level 2, there's a chance for burning or more projectiles. This burning is actually how I apply burning in boss brawl, and then additional flares I use in nightmare mode to hit more horde and slow more horde. At the 4-star, you get 90% slow while death ray is active, and once death ray is on, it doesn't leave. Super valuable again in late game nightmare mode and hard mode arena. It's also really strong in Dragon's Tower, actually. That's the other big one, Dragon's Tower and nightmare mode. And then at 5, you get increase to burning damage or minus cooldown, so I'm going increase the damage to burning. Again, if you're earlier in the game, you could think about cooldown there if you need it. Ice Wand. Ice Wand's one of my favorite weapons. I use this thing all the time. I think I overuse it relative to a lot of other players, but I find it super valuable because it's attacking the closest horde to you and it's freezing them. If it's freezing anything, it means it was about to hit you. Again, going back to that concept of damage above replacement, this would be disruption above replacement. Anything it's hitting got close, and so it's good that it's hitting it. You also get an amp to frozen horde via your wizard ring, so freezing horde will actually do more damage. So I think this is all around a very good weapon. At level 1, more projectiles and more cooldown. Same concept as always. Projectiles later in the game, cooldown earlier in the game until you hit the cap. At level 2, more projectiles or enduring chill. This one's interesting. So this is where you can start making decisions and actually combine this with the very last one, which is Ice Barrage, which is more projectiles or more status effect duration. Status effect duration is how long the horde stay frozen. So if you're hitting fewer horde, like in hard mode arena, I would actually go with a status effect duration increase for both of these. Because of the way those horde are so clumped together, you can rely on the evolved Frost Nova to freeze them, and this will keep them frozen for longer, giving you more time to do damage. But in something like Nightmare mode, you might want to strike a balance, where you're increasing the duration with one and the number of projectiles with the other. Something like that, or just more projectiles to freeze more horde. That combines well nicely with Piercing Ice, which adds 1 penetration to the weapon, meaning it goes through one horde and hits another. So if you increase the number of projectiles and increase the penetration, you're essentially like getting double value from each of those. So you're trying to strike a balance there. So I might go something like left, right, left, for most game modes to get more status effect duration plus more projectiles, which are then doubled by piercing ice. Hammer. Hammer is one that I don't ever use. This was the first one I took out of my rotation as soon as I got a special weapon. It's actually negatively impacts you in guild events. It's one of the few weapons to make an event worse. At level 1, you get either a increase to damage or a reduction in cooldown. We want an increase to damage there. Hammer time is bigger hammers or more projectiles. I personally go for more projectiles here. Devastating Force is nice. This 1.025 multiple to damage is big. So that's actually a really nice 3-star forge. At 4, you get more pushback, and then at 5, you get either cooldown or 10% chance to stun enemies for 2 seconds. These are all really bad. This whole forge is just a mess. So you shouldn't be using hammers if you can avoid it. Again, early in the game, cooldown. Later in the game, you want stuns and more damage. And again, I go more projectiles over bigger projectiles. Chain Lightning. This is core to most builds. At the first level, projectile speed or projectiles. So it scales off of projectiles, so get more projectiles here. At level 2, you can either go a chance for burn or more damage. If you need a chance for burn, if this is your first chance for it, get that. Otherwise, just go more damage. And then Shocker is, so when you evolve Chain Lightning into Thunderbolt, it does damage in an area around it as it hits Horde. This lets you remove that area of effect, but each Horde hit does 4 times more damage. So in an area where you're hitting fewer Horde, you might consider this. Although I think Electric Shock is better and increases the area of effect even more. Most of the time I'm going right here, and left here, just to get as much damage as you can out of Chain Lightning to as many Horde. Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath is fantastic early in the game, falls off in kind of mid-game, where you just stop using it completely, but up until then is actually your best weapon. So this is super valuable early in the game. At level 1, you can go either one, more damage or more area of effect, depending on like where your talents are early in the game. If you got lucky and have a bunch of area of effect talents, then consider going Hot Wind. If you don't, consider going area of effect. At level 2, here's another chance for burning or effect duration. Early in the game, effect duration can help because you are going to have it go off of cooldown early in the runs. So that's not a bad choice. If this is your first place to get burning, grab that. Burning will give you a big damage amp. Level 4, there's just more burning with Dragon's Destruction, and then 5 is a status effect duration or effect duration. Both of these are not great, so overall the Dragon's Breath Forge is like super not valuable, and honestly by the time you get this forged up, you're not using it anymore. Alright, and then lastly we got Poison Darts. Poison Darts. So I've had a change of heart on Poison Darts. The issue is they're not very good at the beginning of the game because they only go in like 2 directions and then they evolve off of evasion. It's not super valuable early in the game because you just need more sources of damage to synergize between all your weapons. Later in the game, when your talents are up higher and you have a poison multiple in your talents that's stuck to 30%, then Poison Darts is actually one of the better weapons you can get just to apply poison, because that multiplier effect is actually pretty big. It's like the same as getting like a damage tome, and so it can even out. You do have some interesting choices with Poison Darts. You can either do rear damage, which has them all shoot out the back, or front damage that has them all shoot forward. If you're using an auto aimer, you could think about doing front damage, and if you're using something like Tinkerer where they're always behind you, you could think about using rear damage. I personally don't like either of those. I'm never like going to be controlling my hero well enough to like optimize for poison dart damage. So I ignore those and instead go for more projectiles and more damage, and big darts to hit more stuff and do more damage. Venomous Stasis adds a slow to the vials when they're in a circle, and then improved formula as a status effect duration or more projectiles. We're going more projectiles here for more damage. You're going to get them poisoned long enough that you don't need the effect, you don't need the status effect duration of the poison to last longer. You just want to do more damage with the vials that you're throwing. And that's it. That's all 11 base weapons in Heroes vs. Hordes. Hopefully I gave you a mental model to understand when you're going to choose between different forge options, and you can apply these to special weapons or to your unique case. Early in the game, cooldown is super valuable. Later in the game, for things like Nightmare Mode, you want stuns and slows and that kind of thing. So you can choose levels in the forge as you see fit for any game mode. The most important thing about forges is to actually read them and then think about how they apply to your game situation. Early in the game, cooldown will help you. Later in the game, status effects like burning and stuns and slows will help you more. And it's good to know you can always change your mind and pick a different one. Again, I'm Coles. I'm a high-level HvH player and part of a top 10 guild. You can sign up for my Patreon, where you can become a fellow adventurer and get priority answers to your questions. I also have a monthly giveaway now on my Patreon, which you'll be entered for if you sign up there. You can also become an executive producer, like the executive producers of this video: Cake Invictus, Riverwind, The Wubba, Krabs, Charlos, and Dennis. Thank you all for your support. It means a lot. You can find a written version of this guide on my website, hvhlounge.com. And remember, always do your adventures!